Hello there and welcome to Art of Origami. I've been hearing a lot of questions online about how to adapt to Orton Gillingham for remote instruction. So this video is going to be for teachers and tutors who are looking to adapt their Orton Gillingham instruction for online. And I'm going to show one strategy that I've been using with some of my tutoring students to work with them remotely or kind of supplement what's going on in their classes so that they have that additional support and they continue to grow as readers. So what I'm going to show you today is how to adapt syllable puzzles for online. This is something that I do as part of my Orton Gillingham instruction when I have students who are working at that first, almost second grade reading level who are that's where they've been stuck for a while, and we're kind of trying to push past that into using what they're learning in some more challenging words. These puzzles are very simple. They're just index cards that I've cut up. And the reason I picked these is because, as we know, they're very hands-on, and Orton Gillingham is a hands-on learning and teaching method, which is very difficult to adapt to online. So I thought I would challenge myself to make these an online learning resource. So what I would do, and there's more of them that I'm not going to spread out, is I would have my students just spread out all the syllables and then put them together to make words. And this is really building those brain structures that allow our readers to read more efficiently by chunking words instead of looking letter by letter. They're really looking syllable by syllable for those spelling patterns that they've learned. So these, you can see, have some blends and they have some magic E as well. And that's what the focus skill is for these particular puzzles. Now I have these for all of my skills all the way through vowel teams, and then after that I move into some different strategies. So I would have my student do this after the 3-part drill, kind of transitioning from that warm-up into some actual instruction, and I do have them repeat these more than one time. So how would I take this and adapt it to online learning? What I'm going to do, and what I'm going to show you how to do, is build an interactive PowerPoint that can be given remotely and that can be used on screen. So I'll put away my puzzles. What an online PowerPoint, or an interactive PowerPoint, I'm sorry. What an interactive PowerPoint is it's a PowerPoint. Here's an example one that I've made using Google Slides, where the pieces of the PowerPoint move, but only the pieces of the PowerPoint move that you want to move. So for example, this is a very simple, very basic letter sounds match activity that I might use with a very young kindergartner or someone who's reading at that early kindergarten level. And the way this one works is you just take your letter, let's play it, see if I can get the whole thing in my frame here. Ooh, I can see my whole living room now. Alright, so the way this one works is, I'm going to have to edit this. So the way this PowerPoint works is very simple, is you would just use your mouse to click on, say, letter D, and drag it over here to be with the duck. It's a simple initial sounds activity that would be very easy for a child to do on their own or with a parent. This is one of the printables that I use with my students who are at that very early kindergarten reading level. And because this is designed as an interactive PowerPoint, the background graphics, if I click this and I drag, I will not be able to move the background graphics. I can only move the letters. And one thing you might notice is up here in the corner, I have a student's name, John Doe, obviously a fake name. I can make multiple slides so that Jane can do her activity separately. Maybe she has G and A confused. She's not sure. what to do. She's struggling a little bit more, and I can evaluate them separately. So what I would do with this is I would share it to all of the students in my class, and I would have them complete the slide that goes with their name. Or I could just share with one student if I'm just tutoring one student, or I could make multiple copies of my PowerPoint, and I could share individual copies out to individual students if I have students who maybe struggle a little more with the technology. So let's look at going back to that syllable puzzles idea, and what I've brought up here is an example of a worksheet that I've used with my middle school bridge students that is appropriate for older students, but it is a worksheet written at a mid-second grade level. So what this is I would give each student a printout of this, and it has 6 clues for multisyllabic words with vowel teams, and they would cut out the syllables and then make the word. So number 1 says the last day of the school week. We know that's Friday, so they would need to use the syllables fry and day to make that word, and so on and so forth. The syllables, or the clues, are pretty simple and pretty basic. Now what if I wanted to share this online so that my students can do this online and they don't need to print this out and cut and paste? It says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to where I have a new untitled presentation. This is again is in just Google Slides, and because I do like to print my worksheets out from time to time, I'm going to make this something that's both printable and shareable. So I'm going to go to Page Setup, Custom, and I'm going to make it the same size as a sheet of paper. 11 by 8.5, so that would be a sheet of paper that's on its side. Apply that, and now if I go to print this, it will print without any distortions. So the first thing I need to do is I need to build a background for my slide, and what I'm going to end up doing is saving this as an image. So I have a text box here, and what I'm just going to do is go ahead and copy and paste my worksheet in. I'm going to add a little more space so it's easier for my students to work with. Alright, so I have the text in my worksheet here. Now you see my worksheet also has a lovely representation of an oatmeal packet that I found on Google Image Search, so I'm just going to copy and paste that in there. And now this is the background of my worksheet. This is what my students would have after they cut off all of the syllables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as an image. I'm going to go to File, Download, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG image for the current slide. And you see it says my download is complete. It popped right up. Now here is the trick to doing this and making it so that your student can only change the parts that you want them to change. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything that I have on my slide. And I'm going to go ahead and make that image that I just saved into the background for my slide. So what I did, let me slow that down a little bit. What I did is I went to Slide, Change Background, and this dialog screen will pop up. I'm going to click Choose Image. And I'm just going to re-upload the image that I just saved. Now if I click Done, I can see that the background of my slide is what I had just created on the PowerPoint. And now because it's the background, I can click and I can attempt to drag this, but it won't move. This is an image that is going to stay put exactly where it's at. Now that I have my slide with the background set to be the stationary piece, I can add in my moving parts. So if I look here, I can see all of the syllables that I'm going to need to use. to build this PowerPoint. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a shape. Let's stick with some rectangles. I'm going to get my rectangles formatted just the way I like. I like them transparent with a 3-point black border. That is my preference. Feel free to do whatever works for you and for your students. And I'm going to make a bunch of these. I'm looking at my original PowerPoint and I can see that I have 12. So I need 12 boxes. So I'm just going to Control C copy and then Control V paste. And keep doing that until I have 12 boxes for my syllables. A little bit boring here. Not much going on. Just making sure everything's formatted just the way I like it. Oops. Alright, I have 12 boxes. Now one thing that I'm going to do that will help myself, you may do it differently, is I'm going to see if I can copy and paste this table just to use as a reference. And there it is. So the reason I'm not using this table as it is one, it doesn't really fit on my slide, but even if I did, the whole table moves together. I can't just take one syllable and move it where I want it. So I'm going to have to kind of remake this, reinvent the wheel just a little bit, and put my syllables in my new boxes. And I'm just typing what I see in each box into a new rectangle here. And once I have them all, I don't need this table anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. If I wanted to, I could go back and forth and keep looking and copying, or I could write these on a separate sheet of paper, or whatever works for my brain I can do. For me, I really like that copy and paste method because it's easy enough to just delete it when I'm done. So now what I have is I have all of these same syllables and they will move by themselves, just like they would if my student had cut out syllables in a cut and paste activity. One thing that's going to bother me personally, I like my things to be formatted just so. I know a lot of teachers feel the same, is these are not formatted the same way, so I'm going to go ahead and center them and increase the font size. I could change the font to whatever I want, make any other modifications that I want. I'm just going to use Control Y to center all of these. That's the way I don't have to click as much. You can't see my keyboard, but what I'm doing is just pushing Control Y and it's doing the same thing to each box. Now if I want to go ahead and change the font size, I can do that. Size 24. And again, I'm just going to use that Control Y. Oops. Size 24. So now you can see I have all of the same syllables that I had on my original worksheet. They all move on their own, so my student can show me that they understand. And complete their work remotely. And that way it's a little bit of that hands-on instruction piece, even when we're not able to give them the scissors and the glue and actually be there with them while they're putting together their puzzles or doing different things. And this way you can share dynamically what they need. So if they do really, really well on this activity, I can move on to the next thing, or if they need more practice here, I can continue to make more sheets that kind of go with this skill. So the last step that I would need to do, move my camera a little bit, is I would just need to share it. Hopefully this is helpful for you when you're working with some students who are building that ability to use syllables. Hopefully this is something that allows you to be a little more hands-on when you're teaching remotely. Please leave me a like and a comment if so. If not, feel free to reach out to me with any questions or any other topics that you'd like to see covered during this time of some change in education. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.